Today, data is everything. India is one of the leaders when it comes to building digital public infrastructure. So, we have a lot of data that we have collected. Would you say we are data rich or are we data smart?
Exceptionally data rich, but has this whole data turned into decision making? Has it really transformed a lot of stuff? I think we have done a lot, but I think a lot needs to be done.
Even Niti Aayog has flagged the fact that in many cases the data is of poor quality.
There is an acceptance of the fact that we have to fundamentally improve the data collection first. You do not know almost how 80% Indians die in India. Whether you're winning or losing, you need to know where do you stand.
How do we ensure that it is authentic
If
data?
you look at the current process of census is digitally recorded with a multi-layer of verifications. So it's very rare you can get a false data into the system. The next 5 to 10 years are going to be the game changer for every country in the world. We will change more in next 10 years than what we could change in last 100 years.
Joining me today is Syed Nazakat, an award-winning journalist and media entrepreneur. He is the founder and CEO of DataLEADS, a digital media and technology company. Hello and welcome to What India Needs podcast with me, Shutapa Paul. Today, data is everything. It can give you consumption patterns, marketing trends, even ways to improve governance. Similarly, inaccurate, false, or even delayed data can do a lot of harm. And while gathering and standardizing data is key, equally important is correctly reading that data. Joining me today is Syed Nazakat, an award winning journalist and media entrepreneur. He is the founder and CEO of DataLEADS, a digital media and technology company focused on improving the global information ecosystem through data research, media literacy, fact checking, and advancing AI preparedness at scale. Thank you for coming on What India Needs podcast, Syed.
Thank you so much. I think it's a pleasure to meet a dear friend after many years through the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure is entirely mine.
Yeah.
So, we're talking all things data, and we know how important and crucial data is today. India is one of the leaders in when it comes to building digital public infrastructure. So we have a lot of data that we have collected, whether it's through Aadhaar or it's through digital transactions, UPI. It's a lot. Would you say we are data rich, or are we data smart? Do we have to get to being data smart?
No, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a phenomenal story happening when it comes to digital transformation of India. And particularly from the last 10 to 15 years, it's unimaginable how much India has achieved in terms of building infrastructures where the data can be captured, analyzed, and also used in decision making. Today, India stands as one of the leading countries in terms of managing a large scale data sets. So that way, exceptionally data rich. But has this whole data turned into decision making? Has it really transformed a lot of system? I think we have done a lot, but I think a lot needs to be done. And I think it's a you can say a phase where India is exploring different options of future. And I personally and seriously believe, given our work in this space, that India has everything it needs to be to the global leader in terms of managing this data, because this data is not just about one or two things. What India will do in next 5-10 years, it will impact global business, it will impact geopolitics, it will impact our trade with the rest of the world and the trade of the rest of the world in this part of the world, and everything will be around these decision makers. And we are an open democratic country that also is seen in a way how the global tech platforms are shifting their businesses, building data hubs in this country.
Yeah.
I think that's also our huge success. Just like last month during the India AI Summit, we saw Google building one of its biggest data centers in India, right? Visakhapatnam. They're going to be there. And we can see other companies, Microsoft, Amazon, all of them actually coming and setting up centers of excellence, data centers and all. This will actually create a broad infrastructure where India will be able to build the foundations for next, you can say, 100 years actually.
Right.
And it's extremely, you can say, extremely bottom up,
Hmm.
and extremely, you can say, pan India. You will
Hmm.
not see a one city, two city anymore, which is dominating in this tech field. Like you look at Pune, you look at Hyderabad, you look at Chennai, you look
Hmm.
at Vishakhapatnam for that matter, Bangalore for
Hmm.
that matter. So India's advantage has been in the last, I think, like a last 15, 20 years, we have been able to move actually beyond one or two cities and actually have a pan India impact of how things work. And also at a national level, the way decisions have been taken in terms of improving the data infrastructure,
Hmm.
whether that is UPI, whether that is your other banking transactions, whether that is your data in terms of a health collection, health data collection for that matter,
Hmm.
is all uniform because the framework has been set up at a federal, at a national level. Maybe we can see certainly improvements which are needed in many areas, but we
Hmm.
can see a very clear policy, and we can see a clear picture actually
Hmm.
what India will look like if everything goes as per plan by next 10, 15 years.
Mm. So the tech centers that you mentioned, I mean, obviously it's great for us to have these centers of excellence, tech centers, but um, a lot of data centers come at the cost of sustainability as well,
Right,
right? I mean,
right,
the amount of resources it takes, like
right,
water.
right,
That's why a lot of the first world is kind of moving away as well from that, and obviously we are gaining.
right.
So somewhere we will have to also be sustainably
Looking
growing
at,
forward with this,
certainly,
right?
certainly. I think I can remember the whole discussion about when we decided to have a civilian nuclear deal for that matter with the US. And then we looked at the building renewable energy plants with the nuclear, with the nuclear at the core. And we had a lot of discussion about nuclear is not safe, for example, how we will manage these massive plants and all. And now
Hmm.
look at it after like 10 years of discussion and all. And today you will see, despite the huge global turbulence,
Hmm.
with West Asia and the US war and everything and the global crisis, energy crisis, we have been much better prepared. And thanks to that push in the renewables in the last 10
Hmm.
years,
Hmm.
of course, there are certain critical discussions we need to have, the open discussions we need to have about the feasibility. We need to look at the resource. We need to look
Right.
at natural resources, including the energy resources and all, when we are going in this direction where these data centers will consume a lot of energy and all.
Yeah.
I think that's also, the intent is also very clear during the India AI Impact Summit. We
Hmm.
had the Delhi Declaration, and you will see in that whole declaration, there's a huge emphasis on responsible deployment of AI technology in the
Hmm.
country.
Yeah.
And you will see a debate happening more often actually than in the global south, in India, than a lot of other places now, that
Hmm.
we are going. There's no question about going back on this new technology, whether this is at the moment AI and future, there may be others, but we're very focused in this discussion that we are at the stage today where we have an opportunity
Yeah.
to be in the front row. Like, what happened with the internet? Let's take back 20 years.
Hmm.
All these big internet giants and companies, they were in a particular one country, and they
Hmm.
dominated the rest of the world in terms of their expertise, their knowledge, and all of that. And the rest of world did actually then the runner-up thing and then trying to catch up. And
Yeah.
we actually lost that race, to be honest. If you
Yeah.
look at all the major big companies
Hmm.
who dominate in the tech, they're all based in either in US and Europe.
Hmm.
But I think when in the AI, in the game of like this whole uh, global South discussion in AI, India has been very clear in its intent of creating,
Yeah.
METI, under METI, the mission AI, the whole, you can say a vertical which is very forward looking, with an investment of very early investment of 10,000 crores,
Hmm.
and with the center of excellences of AI, pushing IITs to IITs to take the lead, whether that's IIT Madras, IIT Jodhpur, IIT
Hmm.
Delhi.
Hmm.
All of them have been encouraged that they need to be helping building a situation and building a framework where India will be able to take lead in this technology, but at the same time will deploy it responsibly,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that the India's interest, the interest of people, interest of the state, and they also India's responsibility in terms of have a global, as a leader in the global south,
Yeah.
all of them are met in this framework. And I
Hmm.
can see the intent out there. There are policy discussions which needs to happen, how we will go about it. I think there's a path of growing, there's a path of embracing this technology. And I see those discussions we will certainly have as we move forward, as we go to the next AI summit in Geneva next year. This discussion will remain there. How are we engaging with the whole universe?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, AI is just something that we cannot not do. I mean, it is there. It is upon us. It is an advancement. It is a disruption. It can be a threat, and responsibility is definitely something that all of us who will work, or even institutions, governments, they all have to be quite cautious about it. But at the same time, you have to embrace it. You have to make it work for us.
True,
But
true,
we'll go back to data for a bit,
true.
and we discussed that India has a lot of data. We're collecting a lot of data, but even Niti Aayog, for example, has flagged the fact that in many cases the data is of poor quality. So there is a issue of bad data, right? So we see accounts being opened, but many are fake or dormant. We see Aadhaar cards, but many are fake, or they're fraudulent, or there's a mistake. Mistakes are can be rectified, but we do see a lot of bad data also, which is in the system. How do we weed that out? Because that is something that would be very crucial, right? That would impact decision making.
Yeah, no, I think you made a valid point, and I think there is an acceptance of the fact that we have to fundamentally improve the data collection first. Like, okay, let's look at health for that matter. Who collects health data eventually on the ground? Are doctors collecting health data? Are nurses collecting health data? Are people who are trained in data collection collecting health data? Maybe not. These are ASHA workers, the healthcare workers who may not even have that competency in data who eventually have a lot of other work. They go door to door and they collect either through a pen and paper, either through an Excel sheet. And that was how data was collected in the last 20-30 years. That these ASHA workers go door to door, collect who got the vaccine last, when was the baby born, and that data will go somewhere. And given health is a state subject, all the data will remain in the state. Then they will submit it once in a year to the central health ministry, and the ministry will take this data with some bit of maybe audit and then build a national policy on that. So we realized it was not really the way it should have been done. There should have been a proper manpower. There should have been a live data feed. There should have been like a dashboards with the accesses across the states and all. And given India speaks hundreds of languages, so data is also collected in different languages. Like if it is in Maharashtra, all the health data is collected in Marathi. In Kerala, Malayalam, in Delhi or UP is Hindi, in some other parts in Urdu. So like if you are a national officer, decision maker at a Delhi, you will have to have more resources also to make sure this data is computable, so that you have a national figure. So there's certainly a flaw in the architect of the data collection, which was there from last, you can say 30, 40 years, which was built very basic, like a structure, and resources were limited. The manpower competencies are very limited. And because of that, I think there have been a situation where we have questioned our data as well, whether that is about how people die. Like for example, in India, majority of people die at home. And you do not know, as per your data, you do not know almost how 80% Indians die in India.
The cause of death.
Because death. We don't know the cause of death of 80% population.
Wow.
And what does that mean? Like if I have to build hospitals for those 80% of population, or medical colleges, or nurses, or deployed resources, I don't know which part of country needs how many hospitals and colleges and deployment on the ground. And why is that happening?
And because you don't even know the disease. Like for example,
we don't know which disease is killing.
Which disease is killing them.
Yeah. And why is that problem? Because we do not have medically certified deaths data collected at the national level, at the state level.
So from the death certificate, shouldn't it be collected?
It's mostly a death certificate. You died, but it doesn't really show from which disease you died. So there's an Indian-Canadian scientist, and he worked for 14 years on a research project called 1 Million Deaths. And he came to a conclusion that we really need to improve our death collection data as well, so that we know the cause of death. Not really a person has died, which is a municipality record, that so many people died in this area, you need a death certificate, but the cause of the death. And for 14 years, he studied 1 million deaths. And he realized that when people die at, mostly die at home, not in hospitals, but he also come up with an amazing insight. And he realized through his research, the conclusion was that majority of men die in hospital, majority of women die at home.
My God.
Why that again? Why that
Wow.
again? Because when a male member is sick in the family,
They are
he's
admitted.
seen as an important person in the family.
Ah,
He's rushed to the hospital. If a
wow.
female person is sick, she's saying, oh, she'll be okay. Give her a Dolo, give her a paracetamol. She'll
Hmm.
be fine by tomorrow. And that's also a huge gender disparity, which you can see in the data collection. So I think there's a fundamental need and requirement of improving the competency of people who are essentially collecting data on ground. I think
Wow.
that's where the states have fundamental role to play in
Hmm.
different areas, because a lot of things are state subject in India. Health is a state subject. They need to do that, which is crucial. Jobs is the state subject matter.
Yeah.
The states need to, have that discussion. So we think there will be more convergence as we move forward. We
Hmm.
will see, like a, national crime record data for that matter. Like
Hmm.
if I need to say how many police stations we need more, how many
Hmm.
people we need in a particular district, how all of this will be, essentially based on a evidence-based data. So it's very fundamental collecting data, but also ensuring the quality of data is very good. So
Yeah.
that's where maybe perhaps the new census is going to be
Oh, yes.
another amazing success story. How digitally we are going to collect India's first ever data, the world's biggest data collection, completely through a digital means, as India moves into this new phase of data collection through census actually.
So I'm glad we're talking about the census because I was coming to it. A delayed census has really cost us. We've not had authentic findings and data
Hmm.
which would be impacting governance. Obviously, it's great that we're doing it right now, it's currently underway.
Hmm.
But that delayed collection,
Hmm.
obviously, there's a price to pay.
True, true, true. No, it certainly is actually. I think, yeah, it has been a delay of 6 years now to the whole census. It was supposed to happen like 2021,
Mm.
and we are having this delay of like a 5 or 6 years. But I think one of the major delay, as we understand, from the government as well, was because of COVID happened
COVID,
in
yeah.
between. So like it was like a huge
Mm.
disruption, and you cannot really, given the scale of census in India, it's unimaginable. How do you manage this whole machinery of millions of people on ground collecting the data and all? So I think that's understood, and some bit of maybe politics somewhere and all, whatever. We also understand that. But I think I was recently at a IAPA,
Mm.
which actually is a body which trains all the civil service staff in the country,
Mm.
the bureaucrats, the other staff, machinery of the government. And in a room, full of people, I got quite fascinated. What are these young, people attending this workshop about and discussing about some data, something?
Mm.
And to my surprise, I realized these are actually people who are getting trained to conduct the census. It happened like
Ah,
5 6 months back, and I was having a
right.
conversation with these
Mm.
officers, and they were all like a senior bureaucratic officers who are going
Mm.
to be in charge in different states to conduct this
Mm.
survey. And I was asking them like, what's happening, what is so special about this
Mm.
census, and
Mm.
and they were so excited about the whole exercise, given this is the world's biggest ever census.
Yes.
The whole census is digitally conducted, will be digitally conducted. People have an option for the first time ever
Mm.
to put their data directly into the portal.
Yeah.
And imagine, this data, like whenever it is public, the quality of data collection, as we were discussing about health and other issues, will be much better and much improved actually in terms of the different indicators you want to correct, because everything will be digitally, collected and then verified also by hundreds and thousands of staff members who will make sure the data is collected, is clean and everything. And imagine also our story in India, that we have been conducting data from last more than 100 years. Like
Yeah.
before independence, during
Yeah.
the British Raj,
Mm.
we started data collection.
Mm.
So that's why I think a lot of people in West, they do not really get this story. They feel they are the champions of open source data,
Mm.
they're the champions of AI and all whatever.
Mm.
They do not really realize that a country like India with such a massive population
Yeah.
has been conducting census after census from the last more than 100
And
years
in the most traditional,
in a
rudimentary
most traditional
fashion.
way,
Yeah.
reaching millions and millions of, community
Doors.
centers,
Yeah.
doors,
Yeah.
and 500,000 villages and districts, and involving a massive machinery at a scale. And this data is preserved from the last 100 years. And this is what is our backbone actually in terms of our
Yeah.
decision making, in terms of our planning. Then India's success story in most of ways, whether that is building medical colleges, engineering colleges, research institutes, was because of also this data,
Data.
because this data is allowing us to have a look at social indicators, look at the job possibilities, look at the governance models.
Yeah.
Why do we need to deploy more resources? Why we need to create more bridges, more roads? Or
Hmm.
politically speaking, in terms of bifurcation of seats in
Yeah.
different states for a state assembly or a national parliament and all. So all of this data exercise is a rich exercise which becomes eventually a foundation for India
Hmm.
to be a evidence based country, like take
Yes.
decisions, make. That's how Niti Aayog actually came into the picture, and
Hmm.
they kind of provided the framework for this. So I was really fascinated while having an interaction with those young officers,
Hmm.
and they were superly charged because they are the ones who will see themselves as leading this world's biggest large census exercise.
Hmm.
So I think the questions of improving in data collection, making data collection also timely available, are
Hmm.
also the questions where the lot of debate will need to be happen. How are we in future building those competencies ahead?
Right.
Because it's a very globally competitive market space, right?
Hmm.
Everything you do or everything you put on a paper will be tested, will be verified, will be used as an evidence. So I think that's what the challenge is going to be. How do you make sure that you're preparing manpower
Yeah.
for future?
How long is the census exercise
So it's going
usually?
to. It already started
Started,
a
yes.
month ago,
Hmm.
and I think by the mid of next year,
Hmm.
we'll be able to complete the exercise.
Yes.
And then I think it may take some more time to get it publicly accessible, but the
Hmm.
exercise will be completed by hopefully May 2027. So
Right.
I think it's a massive exercise,
Massive,
like almost
massive.
6 lakh villages all across the country,
Oh, for sure.
thousands of manpower included, with a budget of some 11,000
Yeah.
crore used to go through this exercise and all. So
Hmm.
I think that's where I feel like our competency of valuing this exercise,
Hmm.
and our competency of actually eventually how do we use this data to improve the lives of people,
Yes.
improve the governance
Yes.
actually, right? So I think that's where the huge difference
Hmm.
will be. We have to ensure that the data actually is analyzed, used to empower people, to empower systems, and improve the governance.
So, I mean, this data that we will get, I think we can both agree that this will be the most authentic, possibly verified, best data set that will be available now, by maybe in another year, year and a half, to decision
True,
makers, to policy
true,
makers, and
true, true,
everybody else who, I think a lot of us who are, who are observers or
true, true,
commentators,
true, true,
we are also very keen to understand many changes and shifts that would have happened.
true, true, true,
Climate has been a
true,
huge
true, absolutely.
disruptor. How is it disrupting? What has happened with women? Like, for example, we
Hmm.
keep saying that, we are doing these things to empower women, give them more agency, bring them into the workforce. But these little shifts of understanding what's happening in the households, I think it's so interesting to understand because we keep getting these scattered data, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
recently, RBI, there was a data, somebody was quoting from
Hmm.
RBI saying that,
Hmm.
people are not saving anymore,
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
as much as they used to.
Hmm.
Gold loans are apparently at an all time high
Hmm.
because there are stresses.
Hmm.
Stresses caused by COVID,
Hmm.
which was there. There was stress caused by, now you have the West Asia war. There's a stress there, on businesses and workers, and even migrant labor is
Hmm.
affected.
Hmm.
But there are trends, like just from the banking system, we can
Hmm.
understand that, where
Hmm.
people's monies are, or where
Hmm.
they are spending, or where they are overstressed.
Hmm.
And obviously, that gives
No,
insights.
it's like I think there's a fundamental rule of life
Hmm.
that whether you're winning or losing, you need to know where do you stand.
Yeah.
right? So when you look at census, our census was conducted in 2011, so it's like 15 years ago. We need to get a sense, where does India stand today?
Yes.
What are the areas where we have really made the progress?
Hmm.
What are the areas where we are struggling?
Hmm.
What do we need to improve our game so that we move to the Viksit Bharat campaign,
Yes.
right? Unless we have this absolutely clear
Hmm.
and we have this backed by data, we will not be able to deploy resources to improve what we want to improve.
And
So,
obviously, we want the data to not be tampered with as well. We
of
want
course, of
data which
course,
is
of
because
course,
we need to, as you correctly
of
said, we
course,
need to know where we stand.
of
We
course,
can't have a blinkered
of
approach.
course, of course, of
So,
course.
how do we ensure that it is authentic
If
data that's
I
that's
think
coming?
if you look at the current process of census is digitally recorded with a multi-layer of verifications. So it's very rare you can get a false data into the system actually
Right.
now with the processes in place and all. It's systematically driven. It's tested. The people who are in power, in running this campaign at different, at different, at different levels. I think there have been a lot of verification, testing, all of that done. So I think, and it's going to be a quite robust data set and all. But I think for us, it will be quite fascinating to see our growth in the last, last decade or so. How have
Hmm.
we improved on this? How have we improved on that? Where do we need to invest more? I
Yeah.
think this insight will actually really help us to build a campaign for the future.
Yeah.
Okay, because the next census will be after 10 years then.
Yeah.
So I think this next 10 year are the if you look at globally as well, with this whole AI, with this whole new technologies coming into picture, and you
Hmm.
see how things are shaping globally in terms of the dominance of technology is deciding the even
Yeah.
the future of wars.
Yeah.
You don't need to have armies fighting each other. It's all
Anymore. Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
So I think what will happen, and that's why we need to reimagine the future. The next 5 to 10 years are going to be the game changer
Hmm.
for every country in the world. We will
Hmm.
change more in next 10 years than what we have changed in last 100 years.
Wow.
So that is the pace through which every country is going, every individual is going, because the world is shaping up in a way where technology is making things absolutely possible in a ways which was unthinkable. If
Earlier.
you look at
Yeah.
a diagnostics, if you look at a drug discovery, a drug used to take a new vaccine would take 10 to 15 years. During COVID, in a 1 year,
That.
you reduce the cycle of drug discovery for that matter. Now, if you look at new technologies in terms of education for that matter, now we are doing studies, for example, globally. What is the future of education?
Hmm.
What is the future of traditional education?
Hmm.
What is the future of jobs? Which jobs will vanish completely? Will human beings be able to speak to each other the way we are speaking having this podcast? I was talking to a psychologist some
Hmm.
time back. He said, my sense is humans will stop talking to each other.
Wow.
They may chat, they may have a buddy who is a AI
Yeah.
agent and who is their companion, and that companion will provide them a moral, emotional support or whatever.
We're already
They may
seeing that
they may
happening.
not they may not have friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was at the Global AI Summit in Geneva, and I saw already companies there actually having artificially generated pets who can as a comfort support to people who are lonely,
Oh,
right? So
right.
you see a
Yeah.
very different world where things are shaping up,
Hmm.
which will transform our power of imagination of looking at the future.
Hmm.
Will we live in another planet as well? Will we go on
Hmm.
another planet? What will happen to that? And then the real life situations as well, given climate change for that
Hmm.
matter. How are we dealing with the heat waves?
Yeah.
All of that, to be honest. I think we need to be really prepared for this next 1 decade, and also make sure that we don't lose the game in that space,
Yeah.
that we are ready, we are futuristic, we are able to see the future, we are able to fine tune our game, and more importantly, we're prepared for that.
Yeah.
Like things cannot, like nothing can decide for us how we will be in next 10 years. Like people say AI
Hmm.
will do absolutely nothing for you if
Hmm.
you're not prepared for this
Correct.
technology.
Correct.
Like it's your decision how you want to deploy this actually, and what are the guardrails you're putting there to deploy it responsibly, so that it's useful to us
Hmm.
and not really harmful. So I
Hmm.
think that global discussion is intensifying. We can see it happening we saw it during India AI Impact Summit. A lot of discussion about
Yeah.
future. When we are talking about future, actually we're talking about next 5 to 10 years at
Yeah,
the moment.
which
Actually,
is almost here. I
happening.
mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
happening,
yeah.
and I just hope that obviously, the next decade is very exciting,
Mm-hmm.
scary as well, but
Mm-hmm.
exciting
Yeah.
also. I just hope that some part of the human touch and the
Mm.
human
Mm-hmm.
senses and our morals, our creativity
Mm-hmm.
continues and sustains.
Yes.
Um, but let's shift gears and let's talk about data leads. And I want to talk about your venture, primarily because again, lot of data, good data, bad data, authentic data, but a lot of misreading of data also
Mm-hmm.
happens, right?
True. True.
Either
True.
you are not reading the data
True.
properly, you're
True.
not taking the right actions,
True.
you're cherry picking data,
True.
right?
True.
So tell me a bit about data leads. What made you start data leads,
Yeah.
and what is the wonderful work?
No, it's a very amazing journey, to be honest, as well. Like, I was a storyteller, a trained journalist on ground.
Yes.
So I did some bit of reporting here, covered other global regions as well and all. And while I was still there on the ground, I still remember it vividly. I was in South Sudan. That was my last reporting assignment.
Mm.
I've been thinking about, future of information,
Mm.
future of news. And our challenge, the way we were taught in journalism colleges and media colleges, was that we were trained to collect data,
Right.
collect information, go out and meet people, and then put a lot of effort in that process. But I started realizing, it was around 2012, 13, 14, that a lot of data is becoming slowly available.
Mm.
And we don't need to go out to collect a lot of data. There's millions of data sets available.
Mm.
Maybe perhaps also, for the first time in the human history,
Mm.
we have access to more information and more data than ever before.
Right.
And then my second question was, then, if so much information is going to be available to everyone, maybe we need different skills, not really how to collect data, but
Mm.
how to make sense of data.
Mm.
And that was around 2014. And it was also the time, when I was sting, actually, I still remember it this way. I was sting on a breakfast with my wife, who is a medical doctor, Dr. Sabha.
Mm.
And I was discussing with her, hey, like, what do you think, if data is happening this way and we need to make sense of it, what it means for us?
Mm.
And I was explaining to her, oh, because my experience is mostly about politics, covering politics as a
Mm.
journalist,
Mm.
war zones and all. What can I do with the data in that space? And she mentioned, given a background in medicine, why not about start with health data?
Mm.
If the pilot is tested, you can implement it somewhere. And
Right.
that breakfast meeting actually gave us a sense, and immediately we thought of, let's create a company which is now DataLEADS.
Wow.
And it got benefited tremendously by the, you can say, political decisions done in the country during that
Right.
time. I remember when the Prime Minister Modi came into the power, one of his first major campaign was Digital India campaign in
That's right.
2015.
Mm.
And that meant actually all the data which was published manually, whether that was parliament reports, census reports, whether parliament standing committee reports, the budgets, all of the question answer sessions, which is a rich data which could
Mm.
empower decision making,
Mm.
was made digitally at one place.
Right.
And then we use that actually to make, break that, digital files, create that database
Mm.
at a one place, and actually help people to understand what's happening. One of our first project was with the Ministry of Biotechnology, actually, through a center which is called THSTI, which is a team of some 200 scientists who actually do drug discovery. And they do amazing work, but it was so scientific and so complex that it was very difficult for people to understand what are these 200 scientists doing.
Mm.
So one of the first major project we took was how to make sure the work the scientists are doing in drug discovery is explained to people in a very
Mm.
simple data sets and visuals.
Wow.
And that we created a first hub for them, where the data was actually simplified for people to understand. But I think our inspiration, when I look at back and look back at the whole journey, we celebrated 10 year. Now we are based actually as an organization based in India as
Mm.
a headquarter, but we have a subsidiary company in Singapore, and
Mm.
then we cover the Asian market in terms of our work. And from that, those two people at that time, now
Mm.
a solid team of like almost 70 people on ground,
Amazing.
and some of the amazing team members who are from best colleges, best competencies, and absolutely passionate about the future. I think that was also how I look at our work in terms of how we have been actually able to, perhaps able successfully able to see how the future will shape when it comes to information and data, and then our role actually in that space as a tech and digital media company, how to simplify this for the audiences so that they
Hmm.
can engage with the data and
Hmm.
engage with the future. So we saw information as a service.
Right.
Let's provide this as a service and empower people,
Hmm.
because our understanding was very clear. If people have timely access to accurate information, it could be amazingly empowering.
Yeah.
Like if a person who is having some medical condition, but if he knows at the right time that he's having some problem, he can approach a doctor and
Hmm.
hospital and get treated, and then his life is saved.
Hmm.
If a young student knows at a particular time that if he takes this course, it will help him move this way in the correct
Yeah.
life, that I think that information will empower him. So I think those were the, you can say, the ways we looked at the data, we looked at the future. And then in the last 10 years, our work has benefited, I think, millions of people all across Asia.
Companies, governments
Yes,
across borders, right?
we have been working very closely with very, like a very innovative major global organizations. We have a partnership with the Google, which has been extremely successful. We have worked with the central governments here. We did AI Health Summit last time. We got
Mm.
support from 4 major ministries in that. We are building a tool which is India's first deepfake technology tool with IIT Madras, IIT Jodhpur,
Mm.
supported by the Ministry of Information and Technology. We work very closely with Kerala government, building a digital safety program for the whole state. We work with the Bihar government
Wow.
on a major program out there. And I
Mm.
think lot of conversations, to be honest. And one of the fascinating things for us was also to realize the power of collaboration.
Yeah.
Like in a new India, in this new phase, you should not be doing everything on your own. You
You
should
have to
find
join
partners,
hands.
join hands,
Yes.
build conversations, and actually
Absolutely.
create bridges. Actually,
Yes.
like even if you do not agree with someone,
Yeah.
just try to find out what is the,
Unifying factor.
starting point for a
Yeah.
dialogue where we can
Yeah.
work in areas where we have a mutual interest. I think
Correct.
that spirit of collaboration at a, you can say, organization level, but I can say
Hmm.
also at a national level and global level,
Hmm.
that's what is needed, to be honest, because the world is quite complex
Yeah.
and we are moving at an unprecedented fast speed. We need to make sure we are holding each other's hand and we are understanding the future together
True.
as a society,
Yeah.
because it's not a solo job. Like if some new technology is coming, some new things are happening, it's going to impact a lot of ecosystem.
And everybody,
Yeah,
everybody, like
everyone,
even
everyone,
for nations, like
everyone.
now, again, such uncertain times. Every year we
True,
think it'll be a normal year, but there is something that
true,
hits us,
true,
and it
true, true,
affects many nations together
true, true,
at a time. So
true,
having these collaborations, of course, very important. I think our government, Prime Minister Modi, has also been saying globally we should have more collaborations.
true,
But
true.
let's talk again a bit. You mentioned about deep fakes, and
Right,
that is a major challenge,
true.
right? I mean, we saw this in elections
Mm-hmm.
here in India where
Mm-hmm.
deep fakes were used. There are reports of actors and actresses
Right,
complaining about deep fakes. So tell us
right,
about what exactly are you building, which is an anti deep fake or anti deep fake detection
right,
technology. Tell us
right,
a bit
right.
about that.
No, it's like every picture has, both sides actually. So
Mm.
when the AI came, it accelerated very quickly and all, and you can see the bad actors also using it in a bad way, and in targeting people, harming institutions, harming people and all. So what we have seen in the last, I think, 3 years mostly,
Mm.
we are seeing like a huge surge, a huge rise of synthetic AI generated harmful content
Right.
online.
Mm-hmm.
What that essentially means is that people are morphing pictures or identities of people, real
Right.
people, and
Mm.
harming them.
Mm.
It started with, you can say, targeting some celebrities, Bollywood actresses, showing them, making their videos and showing them in a position where they were not there.
Mm.
Then it also showed how it can be used in a banking fraud.
Yes.
Like we are looking at
Even
numbers,
now happening. I
like
mean,
in a
these.
year, our estimate, the government of India's estimate at the moment is that we're losing actually crores of rupees, almost 24,000 crore in a year through banking frauds.
Mm.
And some bit of these frauds are done with the AI generated content actually,
Right.
right? So that danger. Then we also looked at during the, like even political situations as well. We saw dead politicians campaigning on
Hmm.
online,
Hmm.
right? And we say, oh, they're dead long back, but somebody did a deepfake video of them,
Yeah.
and they're seeking votes for their kids, their family, their
Yeah.
party, and all of that. So I
Yeah.
think it's also undermines our capacity what to trust and what not to trust.
Yeah.
And if human beings lose that capacity, then we are lost completely.
Hmm.
What we will do without our
Because so
judgment
many
of
things can be, you can
what,
incite
right? It's
violence, you can incite
you can, right?
riots.
It can create disorder. It can
Yeah.
create confusion. It can create distrust
Hmm.
between people, between institutions, and all actually.
Hmm.
And that's the danger we are seeing actually in this whole space. So I think we had a major, like a, we can say a capacity building program first actually, and we were thankful to Google for that. They supported that. It was a online verification work and all, where we
Hmm.
were training others how to verify content, if it is, bad,
Hmm.
it is good, and how to protect, people and all.
Hmm.
In that process we realized it needs a tech solution. It
Right.
needs a technology which could be actually like used to protect people.
Hmm.
And I think it was a time we saw IIT Jodhpur actually taking lead in this, and
Right.
they came up with a tool called Itisar first,
Okay.
as a tool. I think that gave us a first insight what is possible. And then I think we got approached by IIT Jodhpur and then IIT Madras, that they wanted actually us to be on board, data leads to be on board, and work together to develop actually India's major anti-defake technology, on ground
Nice.
for different stakeholders. So the work, it got selected by the METI as one of the game-changing technology, and it is supported by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. And now this tool will take some time. We're seeing how it will, shape up, but hopefully when it is here available, it will be a one major tool for covering all the major Indian languages
So
in
even
terms
even
of
people will
people will
people like
use it,
me can
institutions
use it.
institutions will use it. At
Nice.
DataLEADS also simultaneously we are working on another major tool which is almost going to be public in next 1 month or so, or
Hmm.
2 months, which is called Verify AI.
Hmm.
The tool is built in-house by a team of machine engineers and data scientists and all. And the tool essentially is building a competency to scroll through the lot of internet with
Hmm.
thousands or millions of posts, pictures, videos, and everything, and catalog them in a way where we are able to see what could be harmful, what could be helpful, and also build like a early warning system before it goes viral, before it hits someone, it harms
Hmm.
someone.
Hmm.
We are able to see, is it a danger, and then we are able to build a framework which could serve as an early warning system to people or to organizations that they need to be careful about. This thing may go viral, which may damage their reputation, their business. It may damage, like a
So it'll be
law and
like
order,
scraping the internet, and it'll be
scraping the
looking
internet,
for.
building like a social listening platform. So I think
Hmm.
that I'm very proud of the fact that it was also very indigenous, like built with a local Indian, competencies and knowledge. A very young, bright team actually, which is behind this tool. So
Right.
when we have it, and we'll make sure that we share more details about it.
Absolutely. So you're building on an open source,
Open source, it will
right?
be open to people, open to organizations to use and all,
Hmm.
and but it will
But the
be.
LLM would be like Claude or a ChatGPT,
Yes, I
like
think
that.
a couple of tech layers,
Okay.
but I think it's essentially going to help people to build a bit of early warning system
Right.
in terms of they understanding the like the challenges. We're looking at two different things. One is what is persistent misinformation, or what is the persistent harmful content
Right.
which will harm us. Another one is what is emerging, what could emerge actually. So we are trying to build a framework where we are able to understand how this thing can actually be identified.
Would your tool be able to detect between real and AI generated?
Yes, yes,
That as well?
yeah, and I think it will do bit of like you will say because there are a lot of other global tools which work very well in other markets.
Hmm.
There's an amazing tool by Google called Synthetic ID, which is built for the deepfake technology as well, but it works on a Google products,
Hmm.
and I think that's one major challenge there. I think, but I think what our tool will do, it will take advantage of lot of other tools as well. So again, the
Right.
collaboration. So
Right.
it will benefit immensely. The way I'm looking at it as a
Hmm.
from a distance at the moment, I can see a huge benefit for us by
Hmm.
like a lot of AI tools already available in different places. Those tools could be integrated, including synth ID tool could be integrated into this system, and makes it much robust actually that way.
And it fits into the whole AI preparedness that Data
Yes,
Leads
yes. So
works very closely
we
with.
have been like selected by AVPN based in Singapore for a global pan Asia global initiative for how to prepare manpower for future, for AI driven future. And our project is essentially called Adira, which is AI digital preparedness and readiness and preparedness. And the whole initiative in the last 1 year has been so, like a game changer on the ground. It's India's largest capacity building program on AI for healthcare workers and people who work in a communication and health. So far, I can see almost every single day somewhere from our network, and master trainers are training somewhere some people on how to use AI, how to use notebook for that matter, how to use like a how to use prompt engineering to
Mm,
generate prompts, how to use AI responsibility.
mm,
So far, I think almost 1,000 organizations have benefited from this capacity building program, and it is emerging as one of India's leading prominent, like capacity building at a mass level, particularly with focus on frontline workers. They're
right.
getting free of cost training
Mm,
and a high, like a intensity global, curriculum, which is supported by also a very strong advisory,
mm,
which includes a former chief scientist to WHO as well. So, and I think that program also gave us a sense whether people will resist new technologies, because there was a lot of
mm,
fear.
mm,
Whether will people accept this technology? They may be fearful about it. They will say, why is this technology? It may collect my data, it may collect my
mm,
profile, I may be whatever, all of that. But to be honest, when we go on ground, and I've been part of some interactions with the communities in some places, we saw people are actually very keen to embrace technology. Even people who are, you can say, literacy levels are low, and they're just like basic low, workers in some spaces, they're also very keen to understand what is this prompting. Will it help them to translate, for example, languages? Will it help them to improve their work, reduce their workload?
right.
Will it help them to improve their workflows in their offices and all? So we have been seeing a lot of questions. In all these trainings, we ask people post test. We ask, give them a feedback survey.
Mm,
What is the one thing they're most fascinated about in the future?
mm,
And we see, they say, will my job be protected? Then second will be, will this tool help my daily workflow?
mm,
Will I be able to go home at 4 o'clock if I finish my all work by 3 o'clock? So I think we see a lot of willingness to embrace, like
right.
our favors, whether people will be embracing, like the technology, because the human behavior is also, when they see a stranger,
Yeah.
they don't easily trust a stranger. So
Yeah.
AI was, like, last couple of years, is a new stranger
Mm,
in the block. So
mm,
will you accept it, embrace it, and then take it forward? I think that we are seeing much more willingness. If you look at the global data as well, Indians actually are much higher in
higher.
terms of trusting the new technology,
Yes.
which is again a good
Trusting,
sign. Which
accepting,
accepting,
and
trusting, and
using.
using
Yeah.
actually. So it's
Yeah.
again a fascinating story to tell
Yeah.
actually.
So, great discussion, Syed. I think we covered such amazing points. You shared so many
Yeah.
interesting things. We're down to our last segment, which is a quick answer.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to be like one word answers
Okay.
in this. So, um, which is that one big blind spot in data? Could be collection, verification, whatever, that we are ignoring
I
in
think
India.
verification and process of verification, not actually verification, but process of verification, like having a multi-layer approach to the data verification at different levels.
What does India need more? Data, trust, or accountability?
I think accountability.
Hmm.
People who are responsible for, like doing stuff, they need to held responsible, because that will make us more efficient actually, because we need to have people who can take ownership of their work, ownership of their responsibilities, and I think everyone has ownership. Then only we'll be able to actually move forward.
We are obviously taking great strides, but if you had to think of one nation outside of India
Hmm.
who we can learn from where data is concerned, data, AI preparedness,
I think
we-
we can learn from, I think, every country, to be honest, because there's so many amazing things happening in different different places in the world. I feel Singapore has been really good in terms of improving their data quality. I think they did fundamental work in terms of AI integration as well into their work, into preparing their people and all. The literacy level is quite high. So I feel like Singapore is very efficient in terms of how they are managing the data, how they are managing the AI readiness and preparedness.
right? So, one last question, because I must ask you.
Hmm.
You worked, at the intersection of media, data, policy,
Hmm.
governance,
Hmm.
right? So, your tips for any professional who wants to enter
Hmm.
any of the fields, or a hybrid one, like your role has
Yeah,
now
no,
become,
I
right?
feel like I think one of the best things in life is, to be honest, to be agile actually.
Mm,
Don't set boundaries, what you want to do and what you don't want to do actually.
mm,
Just be willing to embrace things.
mm,
Do not try to decide, preempt that you're good for this, but you're not good for that. Be a traveler, be a learner, be agile, and explore actually. I
mm.
think that's what the human life is all about, to be honest. You need to go around, understand the world, be ready to meet new people, have new challenges in life. Because if life is so comfortable, it's, to be honest, if you ask me, a data leads essentially is not about building a company and building $1 billion empire. I
Mm.
feel like it's a mission. It's like an
Yeah.
aspiration. You want to build a future ready global standard structure and process. You feel like, oh, you were able to create a solution to a problem which was not there 10 years ago, 15 years
Yeah.
ago. I think
Yeah.
it's all about having that willingness to take a route which is like not really taken by money
Yeah.
before.
Roadless,
Yes,
traveled. Well
yes,
said.
yes.
Well said, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming
Thanks a lot.
on.
What a pleasure to have this conversation, actually. Yep,
Yes,
yep,
I really enjoyed it.
yeah.
We must have you back again
Thanks a
when you
lot.
have
Thank you
some
so
of your
much.
new tools,
Yeah.
and we can talk a lot more in detail. Thank
Thanks
you
a
for
lot.
coming
Thank you
on.
so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on What India Needs podcast. Do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you have any comments, leave them below. Thank you, and see you next time.